doing the Hollywood Squares, and we all can see one another. For our presentation today about the Masters of Science in Nutrition, Healthspan, and Longevity in the Leonard Davis School of Gerontology at the University of Southern California. My name is Carrie Kreitzer, and I am director of the program. I also have a faculty appointment in the Leonard Davis School, as well as Keck School of Medicine. Previously, I worked for quite a few years at Children's Hospital and still do some work there and with Keck School. Next, I will introduce Sarah Robinson. Maybe many of you have met Sarah. She is your go-to in terms of looking at prereqs and questions you have about the program. And Stephen Stump also is available to answer questions and help you navigate USC, the programs we offer at USC. Thanks, Stephen, for joining. Jeannie Wakamatsu in her office with the brick background is one of two internship coordinators, and her position is primarily devoted to working with our students, making sure that their internship placements are working best for them. And Rebecca O, who's been with us for almost a year, it'll be a year in December, has a dual role as a coordinator for internships as well as a clinical preceptor working at Verdugo Hills Hospital and USC Hospital with our students when they're doing their rotations at those two clinical sites, and also teaching in the classroom clinical skills. So I will start up our PowerPoint and we will begin. Let me open it up on my screen. All right, so I did the intros. In our Leonard Davis School, our mission, the mission of the school, is to promote health and aging for individuals, communities, and societies through leadership, innovation, and research, education, and practice. And we, sorry, I got to move ahead here. The screen. We define gerontology as the scientific study of the biological, psychological, sociological phenomenon associated with old age and aging. So if you look across our school at the programs we offer, the courses we offer, many of them are looking at this phenomenon of the aging process. And in our program, we look at food and nutrition as a component of how the bodies age, how humans age across the lifespan. So we're not just focused on older adults, but the lifespan. And this is a list of the different programs that we offer in the Leonard Davis School. As you can see, there are quite a few graduate programs. We have 3 brand new graduate programs that focus on nutrition. And at the end of the presentation, I'm going to briefly introduce those to you. We've had other sessions that we have shared talking about these new programs and how they're different from our Masters of Science in Nutrition, Healthspan, and Longevity. This presentation is going to focus on the NHL. All right, so I'm not going to go through great detail in looking at this either. Probably many of you have already looked at all of your options, and as we see more options now available through the Academy, through our Ascend, our accreditation body, there are really 4 different routes currently prior to 2024 to becoming a registered dietitian. And the traditional route, and that's a route that I did many years ago, I completed a DPD at Cal State Fresno. And once I finished that DPD, I applied to DI programs. I did a DI at Mass General in Boston and went back for a master's degree a few years later. One of the the coordinated program, or CP, has been around not quite as long as the DPD, is probably more for years it was the non-traditional program for those that didn't have a degree in dietetics at the undergrad level, didn't do a DPD, and it allowed them to meet the requirements to be able to then complete internship hours and be able to sit for the RD exam. The two newer programs, the ISPE and, sorry, I have a dog, and the future education model. The ISPE is an individual supervised practice pathway, and that is for those that have applied for a DI, were not accepted into a DI, but are wanting to do an internship program. You're only allowed to apply for an ISPE if you've applied for a DI and have not been accepted, but it is a good route. It's a great viable route to getting qualified. The FEM, or future education model, really is a pilot model right now, and we are seeing more of the FEMs get up and going. And again, another model, we don't offer a future education model. We may in the future. We haven't really begun to look at that yet. So those are the different routes. Our route is the CP. And originally, when we put the program together, we really were targeting students that had a bachelor's degree in any other field and met the prerequisites in order to be admitted to our graduate program. So from here forward, we're just going to talk about the coordinated program. We do have DPD students, graduates that apply to our program. We welcome those applicants to the program. That isn't our target audience, but they're welcome to apply, and they're evaluated just as well as others that apply to the program. We were accredited in August of 2018. We actually were approved a few years before that, but we were accreditation eligible until 2 of our cohorts graduated, and then we had to be reviewed again. So we've been around since 2014 was when we were initially approved, and our first group of students started in January of 2015. We just enrolled our 8th cohort of students this past fall. We're accredited through 2026. We'll go through another review process in 2025, which is a few years off. So again, I mentioned that we offer a coordinated program. The degree you receive is a Master's of Science in Nutrition, Healthspan, and Longevity. We recently changed because of changes at our accreditation level with Ascend. We changed our required internship hours. It was 1,200. We now are approved for less, so 1,000 hours, and we were able to reduce total units from 46 units to 44 units. Most of our students, I would say more than 75%, probably like 90%, are finishing the program in 2 years. We do have a part-time distance option, and we do have students that do the program over 3 years. And that's available for those that are applying as a distance student. We are accredited to accept up to 24 students per year, 48 students at any given time. So there are years when we take a few less than 24, years that we may take more than 24, depending on what our total number is. And I mentioned we don't require the DPD. We do require 40 hours of experience, and it's for 2 reasons. One is, if we didn't require 40 hours of paid volunteer observation experience in the field of nutrition dietetics, we would have to offer a 1-unit course, careers in dietetics. So we have you do that before coming into the program. And for those of you, especially the non-DPD applicants, this is a big commitment of time and finances. We really want you to be sure that nutrition and dietetics is really what you're looking to do. If you have questions about tuition and application fees, if you can look at the USC Graduate School for that information. Hold on just one. All right, next slide. All right, so we have 3 tracks. We have an online, we have an on-campus full-time, we have a distance full-time, and we have a distance part-time. Those are the 3 tracks. And actually, with some new standards for our accreditation, the tracks probably are going to go away. However, we do ask that distance students be at least 100 miles away from USC to enroll as a distance student. And a couple reasons for that also. And Jeannie Wakamatsu will talk about internship placement. Los Angeles is saturated with DI coordinated programs, internship programs that we compete primarily for clinical placement sites. So for someone who maybe lives in Pasadena and wants to be considered a distance student, you're not going to be able to find internship sites in the Pasadena area. If you are living in Bakersfield, California, which is close to 100 miles away, likely you'll be able to find a clinical placement site there. So it's for those 2 reasons. And we don't flip and flop. If you are coming in as a distance student, you're welcome to make a trip to campus occasionally if you want to meet others in the cohort. Likewise, our campus students, we really don't like them to decide one day they want to stay home, another day they want to come to campus. So it really is one or the other. And Jeannie will talk a little bit about our distance students need to find their preceptors. We provide technical assistance and support with you in doing that. And as we have more students beyond our 8 cohorts and have students that are in other areas of the country, certainly we offer those opportunities that we have affiliation agreements with to you and see about trying to get you into those sites. But we can't cover the US. We'll try. So I think I covered this, campus versus distance. All of the classes are scheduled for you. It's a very quick, very intense program, and we meet all competencies that our accreditation body requires in the courses that we offer. We have no electives. It would mean more units if we added electives to this program. We encourage our distance students to participate live or synchronous, but as a distance program, we cannot require our distance students to be synchronous. We assume that they will be asynchronous unless we've decided ahead of time that there's a need for a presentation that needs to be done live. We would also ask students where there's a lab experience to find a local site where they can get exposure to those lab opportunities. We use Blackboard for lots of different functions. We do discussion groups. We share all of our documents. We are happy that we are pretty much a paperless system, not only for internship, but also for courses. Everything is through Blackboard. When COVID came along, it wasn't a big stretch for us. We were already doing everything online other than live internship hours. So it was an easy transition for us. Our core knowledge and competencies are defined by Ascend, and they're the same competencies that are used for other programs. There are 5 categories, including our concentration area, which is Healthspan and longevity, is what we look at. Our prereqs, and they are a bit extensive. And again, we do have individuals that come into our program that have a degree in media and communications, where they've had maybe undergrad biology or chemistry, but not organic, biochem, physiology. So some of our students have far more prereqs that they've got to complete. One of the great things about the prereqs, as long as you are completing them through an accredited community college, university, we will accept those. So it gives you the opportunity, with a lot online now, to finish the classes on your schedule and your time and based on what works for you. For prereq courses, there are 3 prereqs that they can be older than 10 years. The rest need to be more recent. And we don't require you to do any prereqs at USC. And we do have a template that is posted on our webpage that we've found is easier for you, easier for us to see what you've completed. I think the area that is hardest for you and for us is if you've taken a course at a UC that's on a quarter system, or a college or university that's on a quarter system, and just doing that transition between quarter units, semester units. So we will work with you. Sarah will work with you. I can work with you on looking at what you need. So please, if in doubt, reach out to us before you register for courses. We don't want you to take anything beyond what you need to. This is just a copy of what you'll find online. We've added Plus Lab Preferred. Some universities and colleges don't have a lab. They do lab as part of the course. It's not a separate lab section. So we've added that, but the 4 semester units is kind of our break off point for those science courses. In terms of the 40 hours with an RD, there are lots of different ways you can do this. If you have an idea of an area of nutrition practice that you want to work in, use this opportunity to find somebody working in that area that may be willing to let you observe their work, get involved in a project they're working on. We've been flexible due to COVID with just how you can meet those hours. I would welcome you attending state dietetics conference, or the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics just completed their food and nutrition conference, FNCE, we call it, FNCE, and going to sessions at FNCE, if you can summarize what sessions you went to, what were the takeaways from that, we're willing to allow some of that to meet this requirement, because I know this is difficult for you to do, to make sure that you can reach those 40 hours. So again, reach out if you're feeling stressed about this. They don't need to be all completed by January 15, which is due date for applications. If you don't have them done by January 15th, please let us know what your plan is. That's important as part of your application, that you do have a plan for how you're going to get those hours. Probably looking at community nutrition services, if it's a farmer's office, if it's a school-based health fair or something like that, may be easier for you to find opportunities. And I always suggest that you join the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics as a student member. The fact that you're interested in applying to this program, you are considered a student member. If you want to list me and list USC, if that is asked as part of joining as a student member, please do that. A&D has so many resources, not only their journal, but they have quite a few practice groups that have recorded webinars, have newsletters, quarterly, semi-annual newsletters that you can read to kind of see what's going on in the field of nutrition and dietetics. As a student, you can get involved actually in those practice groups. They're always looking for volunteers to be involved with the practice groups. So look to there also. In terms of how we go about reviewing applications, we do have a team. We bring in graduates of our program. We also bring in preceptors that work with our students in internship, as well as faculty working in the Leonard Davis School of Gerontology. And our review of your application is really looking for a win-win. And I encourage you to think about this presentation and what we're sharing and you be critical too. Pick this program. If everything we're saying is exactly what you're looking for, then great. If some of the things that we're offering aren't quite what you were looking for, look at multiple programs, apply to multiple programs. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, because you may be pleasantly surprised. I did that for internships, and I got in at Mass General, which I didn't think I would ever get in, and it was a great internship. So you just never know. We do look at your science grades are critical to this program. We have MDs, MD PhDs that teach in this program, and we pride ourselves on the level of depth that we go into looking at the role of nutrition from a biological standpoint and a metabolic standpoint, and how that contributes to health span longevity. So Roberto Vishnanza, who teaches macronutrients, micronutrients, Dr. Longo, who teaches the course in Italy, looks at the biology of aging and the role of nutrition. A strong science background is really going to help you in this program, and we're excited with the depth that we really look at in macro micronutrients and the role of diet and longevity. We also look at your personal statement. We look at your letters of support. Please make sure that your letters of support are not just someone who had you for a semester in a class, which is why we're very open to you submitting one academic letter and one work reference. If you've had a job for a while and your work reference can speak to areas of you that would make you a great candidate for this program, we welcome that letter. Vice versa, if you've been out of school for a few years and all you've been doing for the last maybe 2-3 years is prereqs, and you don't have a strong academic letter, but you've got 2 really strong work references, we would also consider that. We want to know about you. We want to know what your interests are, what your skill set is. So think carefully about who you ask to write those letters for you. We talked about the 40 hours. We do not require the GRE unless your GPA is under 3.0, then we will look at your GRE scores and we will take that into account in reviewing your application. We do hold interviews. We did last year, I think the year before, using Zoom. And we had over 70 applicants last year, and we probably interviewed 40 or 45. We interviewed quite a few individuals. So, and we set those up usually the end of February, middle to end of February. Graduation, I mentioned that, 44 units, 28 units are required coursework, 10 units are supervised practice, the 1,000 hours, and 6 units is research. We do not require you to complete a thesis. We do not require you to pass an oral exam. We do require you to complete a capstone project. And our cohort 7 is in the midst of finishing up, most of them, their capstone project. And it's exciting. They've all picked very unique topics. I was just reviewing a paper. One of our students is very interested in nutrition and diet and polycystic ovarian disorder or condition. And she did an incredible job looking at what do we know in research. She's hoping to get her summary published in one of the Academy practice group newsletters, and she's well on her way. She's really passionate about this topic and has really done an incredible job. So to me, the capstone opens up the world to all of you to really pick something that you want to focus on more deeply and become expert at. And that is the role of a master's degree, is to master not only what you're learning, but at least a topic area that will help you apply to jobs, will help you in future work that you do. So the capstone is either a publication in a newsletter. It could be a publication in a peer-reviewed journal, doesn't have to be. Could be a poster at a professional conference, doesn't have to be a nutrition conference, but the topic should be nutrition related. And the fact that we have students that are graduating in 2 years is a win-win. They're mastering a topic and they're graduating on time. So we've been happy with the capstone requirement. In terms of supervised practice sites, I will turn it over to Jeannie.
Hey, yeah, so I'm actually gonna
to Rebecca.
Start off with the supervised practice sites. Thanks, Dr. K. So as a reminder, I'm Rebecca O. I'm the clinical preceptor and internship coordinator support for Jeannie. So I just wanted to discuss a couple of our supervised practice sites. So we are very lucky, unlike most other DI programs, USC owns 3 hospitals here in Los Angeles where our students are able to complete rotations. So those are Keck Medical Center of USC, Norris Cancer Center, and Verdugo Hills Hospital. And we mimic the nursing model within these 3 hospitals where we have an on-site preceptor, who's myself. I go with students for their rotations to these hospitals and work with the dietitians in the hospitals to provide just like extra support for the students. So they are able to learn from the staff dietitians, but then also have me there to provide real-time feedback and additional information and education on site. We here in LA, we also have LAC USC, which is a county facility. It's a trauma center, really fast-paced, high acuity hospital there, right downtown. California Rehab, Glendale Memorial, and Torrance Memorial are a couple of the other hospitals that our on-campus students might complete their MNT 1 or 2 rotations. For some of our distance students, we also have connections with Kaiser, both Northern and Southern California. Washington Hospital is a hospital up in Northern California. West Palm Beach VA is a hospital out in Florida. So that's just to give you all an idea. As Dr. K mentioned, we have affiliations with hospitals and sites all over the country from prior cohorts. So we'll definitely work with you if you are near those hospitals or able to relocate. We also connect with long-term care and skilled nursing facilities to complete some of those rotations. Here on site, we have USC Hospitality, which provides all the food all across campus. So that's like campus dining, but then also some of the bigger food productions here on campus as well. USC Sports Nutrition, which actually one of our alumni, Christy Schold, is now a sports dietitian within USC Sports, and she is working now as a preceptor for our students as well. And various research labs across campus. We connect with USC Head Start, public and private schools, community colleges, nonprofit public health programs. We also have lots of connections with private practice and consulting dietitians, many of whom are also our alumni, and disordered eating programs and substance abuse programs. So this is, of course, not a comprehensive list, but just gives you a glimpse of really the breadth of options we have for our supervised practice sites. Next slide, please. All right, so this table gives you a breakdown of those 1,000 hours of supervised practice that Dr. K mentioned earlier. So we have 9 total rotations. The first here is professionalization, which is more of a classroom setting along with interactive options as well. So we're constantly looking into different simulation options like virtual MNT games that use avatars. A lot of different things have been developed, especially in the last year and a half with COVID. So we at USC are always looking into new venues and ideas for these things, but you can see some of the activities listed there. So the rest of the 8 rotations are all done on site. And for our distance students, you are required to secure all of these sites on your own. We will support you with logistics and connections as able, but ultimately that is your responsibility. And the first 3 rotations have to be secured before the start of your first year. So that would include your nutrition education, community nutrition, and retail food service, usually are your first 3 rotations. And we ask that you have those set up so that you're not delayed once you get started. And, oh, sorry, can you go back? Thanks. And just As a note, you're able to complete multiple rotations at any one site. So for example, if you are able to score a hospital, you could do MNT1, MNT2, outpatient, inpatient food service, retail food service, potentially your specialty. And if it's a hospital that has community outreach, you might even be able to do nutrition education or community there as well. All right, looking at for MNT2, we have developed some virtual MNT, and this is really to support lots of different types of learning. And some of our distance students sometimes have a hard time finding those higher acuity rotations and getting enough hours to meet the competency, especially for parenteral nutrition. Usually you're able to get enough experience in tube feeding and enteral nutrition, but for the parenteral nutrition and critical care, it can be difficult to meet those competencies. So we have an option where you would work with me to do some virtual internship in order to meet those hours and those competencies. And then as far as the specialty, this can really be anything. The sky's the limit, whatever you're interested in. You can work with Jeannie and myself to find something that you're interested in. The only requirement is that your preceptor has to be a dietitian, but it could be in really any area. Corporate like Verizon, for example, or Google, they all hire dietitians. Media, the FDA, Trader Joe's hires dietitians. So whatever your field of interest is in, if you can find a preceptor to be who's a dietitian, then we can make that happen for you. We also provide a rubric for each rotation that will guide you through the various assignments and help you be successful working with your preceptor in that rotation as well. And then just so you know, there are no rotations the first fall semester. So we give you the first fall semester without rotations, just so you can settle into the program, focus on your classes, and then in spring of your first year, you'll start your first rotations. All right, Jeannie, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeannie Wakamatsu, and I'm the other internship coordinator here at USC. And again, as Rebecca mentioned, the unique feature about USC is that we have somebody on campus and another internship coordinator on site. And I've been with this program for over 5 years, and I've seen the investment that our school is willing to put towards our program and really supporting our student learning process. So I just want to let you guys know. And then my job today is to kind of tell you about a couple of unique features about our program. First being EXAT. So EXAT is a cloud-based clinical placement platform. We were the early adopters of this platform. So after we started this, there are a lot of other programs who have adopted this. And I work with the software engineers and EXAT staff to really tweak this for our program. Originally this platform was for OTP TPA. So we had to change a lot of this to support students in the dietetics program. And this is John Liu. I got his permission to share his profile. And in fact, I think he recently got into med school. So we have students going into all different fields post-graduation. And in EXAT, you can store everything, your timesheets, your evaluation, your assignments, your immunization records. This is an electronic virtual resume as well. You can send this link to any preceptors, any potential preceptors. And this is a very powerful tool as a distance student that you can send to your preceptors. As an on-campus student, if you're looking for preceptors for your specialty rotation, you can also send a link to potential preceptors. And the subscription for this is paid through USC. So you don't have to worry about the subscription. We take care of that, we manage it. And post-graduation, you still have access to your EXAT, cloud-based EXAT for 2 years, which means that if you're applying for jobs and you need immunization records, or sometimes they said, give me a sample of your case study report. Everything is on this cloud-based platform for you to download and share with potential employers. Okay, next slide. So another question we get is about some data. Students want to know about, RD passage rate and things like that. So I selected 3 of our program objectives that you may be interested in. So on the left-hand side is sort of our goal, was that 80% of graduates will pass the CDR credentialing exam for dietitians within 1 year following first attempt. For us, we graduated over 139 students at this point, and 95% of them have passed the CDR credentialing exam for dietitians within 1 year following first attempt. So this is to assure you that we are doing our best to make sure that you are prepared to pass the RD exam. It's not just about graduation, it's about passing the RD exam. The second objective was that 80% of graduates will complete the coordinator program within 150% of the allotted time frame, because you're doubling down on your education. So once you start, it's all or nothing. So we are committed to you graduating. And, based on our alumni data, 97% do graduate within the allotted time. And, Dr. K, myself, Rebecca, if you have any kind of emergency or you need to take a medical leave, we work with you. We understand that life happens and it doesn't always happen according to our plan, your plan or my plan. So we are here to work with you. But this is just to assure you, again, not only do our students get into the program that pass the RD exam, but they also graduate within the time that they set their eyes for. So again, the third is 75% of graduates will report employment in a dietetics related position within 12 months. So again, we're also concerned about not only you graduating and passing the RD exam, but we want you to be employed in the dietetics related field. And so we sent out an alumni survey. There were 42 respondents, and of those who responded, 93% did state that they are working in a dietetics related position within the first 12 months of graduation. So this is just to let you know that we are working our best to make sure that you're ready and equipped to be an entry-level RD in whatever field that you choose post-graduation. Next slide. Another question, as Dr. Kim mentioned, people think gerontology and they think, oh, older adults. Well, gerontology is the study of the aging process. So just because you graduate from our program doesn't mean that you're only working with older adults. You can work from anybody from all spectrum. And I just wanted to highlight some of our graduates. So here we have Amy Lee Amos. She was from cohort 1, and she's actually founder of Amos Institute, and she has her own private practice, and she focuses on dementia. So she is somebody who is actually working majority with older adults in this field, and she is definitely kind of paving the way for RDs in this field. We have Sherry, who is at UC Irvine and with the Center for Integrative Medicine. We have Dina, who's a research dietitian at UCLA. Maria, who's working in research for Substance Abuse Recovery Center. Whitney English, she is the person that you saw on the flyers, and she is our media RD. She's written a couple of books. She's an influencer. She's also the RDN for 24-Hour Fitness. Elliot Kwan, who's a cohort 2 graduate, she works for the LA County Probation Department, and you can work for the government. They do hire RDs. Elsa is a pediatric dietitian, and Angie is a research dietitian for El Nutra. Next slide, please. And we have Rochelle, who is working at Stanford as a pediatric dietitian. And I was told recently that she is applying for doctorate programs. So again, we have students pursuing further education post-graduation. We have Jordan. She's a corporate wellness dietitian for Riot Games, and she says she's having a blast there. Laura Kaufman, she's an outpatient dietitian for USC Verdugo Hills. Here's a hint. A lot of times preceptors are looking for potential employees. So when you are interning, think of every day that you're interning as a potential interview, because many of our students do get snatched up by their preceptors post-graduation. And so Laura is one of them. Christy Schold, as Rebecca mentioned, rotated at USC Athletics, and she went on, did a couple other things, and they came back and hired her. We have Emma, who's a clinical dietitian. She also has her own private practice, and she's enrolled in a PhD program. And then Hannah Grenfell, who is a recent graduate of mine, is again a classic story where she did her majority of her rotation at LAC-USC, and she got hired right after she passed her RD exam. And Katie is a private practice RD and a personal trainer. She has come back and taken a lot of our students during COVID, especially our distance students. So many of our students do come back as preceptors, and we really appreciate that. And then I featured here Bianca Paulus. She was the sports nutrition football fellow for University of Notre Dame. I know that they are a rival school, but we are so excited for her. She's having such a blast, and she told me that they have welcomed her with open arms, even though she graduated from USC, their rival school. So next slide. So I wanted to feature a couple of our students in the news. So Stephanie Reamer was a graduate student of ours. She graduated, she started at Kingsley, and then we nominated her to be the Outstanding Preceptor of the Year, and she actually received that award. And this is a second recipient from USC. So we try to nominate preceptors who do and go beyond what is required for our students. And the first preceptor, I believe, who was nominated and actually received this award was Jessica Lowe. And then Stephanie was our second, which is, our program's been only around for several years, and to have two of the preceptors that we nominated win this award is a huge accomplishment. And then I wanted to feature Rochelle, Lai, and Rainier. Both of them won the Outstanding Dietetics Student in a Coordinated Program back to back. And actually before Rochelle, there was Marisol who won this award previously. So we had 3 students who won back to back this award. So, again, our job is to not only produce entry-level RDs, but to really help train and mentor future RDs, the leaders in their field. And the beauty about our program, I just want to mention, is that many of our students are non-traditional. They don't have a degree in nutrition, and that's great. I think that's fantastic. You take your degree in something else, whatever it is, psychology, biology. We even had a student with Russian literature, and you merge it with nutrition, and you can go into fields that we never thought, at least when I was a student, that dietitians can go into. And so we're expanding our profession by, I believe, accepting students who come from diverse backgrounds and have diverse experiences. And so I'm really proud of our program. Okay, I think next slide is for Dr. K.
Yes, I'm just going to flash through a few slides of just activities. This is Dr. Longo is in the middle with the navy shirt on, and this is a group of our students that went to Italy, and Dr. Longo offers Gero 498, which is a course that takes place in LA for a week, and then people travel to Italy to Genoa for the rest of the course. And we have students that say it was probably the best course of the program, and just learning about the role of diet in longevity was other activities. We participated in the international games of Special Olympics in 2015, all of the students in the cohort, and we met with the president of the academy. Our students do activities in the community, farmers markets, community nutrition programs. We have students that present posters at conferences. This picture is students that had a poster at the California Academy poster session in 2018. We celebrate with a white coat ceremony when we do the orientation to supervised practice in January, right before the semester starts every year. And that's a group of students that just graduated with their white coats. Our partial list of faculty, I told you, that we had a couple of our faculty that have PhDs in nutrition, both Kurt Hong as well as Roberto Fishnanza completed a PhD in nutrition and teach a number of our courses. So in summary, this Master's of Science in Nutrition, Healthspan, and Longevity, it does prepare individuals to sit for the RD exam. Jeannie went through a lot of the different career opportunities that are out there. They're pretty extensive. I want to just highlight the other 3 programs that we have added. We recognize that with January 2024 being the date that the master's degree will be required as entry-level practice for RDs. Those that finish a program and take the exam prior to January 2024 and only have a bachelor's degree would be grandfathered in and won't be required to go back and get a master's degree. we decided to offer some of our best courses that would work well for those who have completed a DPD or those that are already a registered dietitian nutritionist and want to go back and get a master's degree. This new Master's of Science in Nutritional Science and the other two that I'm going to mention was available as of fall of this year, 2021. And the other two, the second of three, is a Master's of Science in Lifespan Nutrition and Dietetics. And what we have realized with some of our students that have gone through our coordinated program, that they weren't required to get an RD in the US or even have internship hours. They were only required to have a master's degree in nutrition with the word dietetics. So we included the word dietetics in the degree title. And so it mimics our coordinated program for the most part, but has less hours of supervised practice required. And someone completing this particular degree program would not be eligible to sit for the RD exam. Let me just go back to the MS-NS. Someone completing the MS-NS could actually do the program in a full year, 2 semesters plus a summer, if they wanted to do that during a gap year while they were waiting to apply for DI programs, or they could do it over 2 or 3 years if they got into a DI program and wanted to do an MS concurrently with a DI program. So lots of options for the MS-NS. Does not include supervised practice. So the third is a Master's of Arts in Food Service Management. And we have had applicants that really see themselves in a management role in a food service operation. And being in the School of Gerontology, we partner quite extensively with long-term care, supported living communities that are wanting to look more at individualizing diet, food options, addressing cultural diversity. So this Master's of Arts in Food Service Management has very few prerequisites that are required, actually doesn't have any prerequisites that are required, would enable the individual to sit for the Certified Dietary Manager, CDM exam, and many corporate food service organizations are now wanting to hire only CDMs for their leadership management roles in food service operations. So there is that option only. Also, it's a 32-unit degree program. Here's our application deadlines, January 15 for the coordinated program. I know it's a lot of transcripts some of you may have. Please send those not to the graduate school at USC. Send them care of Jim DeFera at the address that is listed here, so that this information gets to the right place, so that we then can get that into your file as you apply. For the 3 degree programs that I just quickly went through, we have twice a year enrollment, so fall and spring. So October 15 for spring and March 15 is the kind of the priority deadline for a fall start. Here's our contact information, Sarah's information, my information, if you need to get in touch with us. And I want to leave the remaining at least 10 minutes we have, and we can stay on a bit longer if we need to answer additional questions. So I will turn it back over to you, Sarah, if you want to share questions and who the question should be directed to.
Great, thank you so much. We do have our first question in the chat for both Jeannie and Rebecca. How are students matched to the location and demographic they're interested in for those supervised practice rotations?
That's a really good question. So if you're on campus, I do have a survey for you, and we ask for your interest, what area of nutrition. Also, we check to see if you don't want to be a clinical dietitian. I probably won't send you to LAC USC, which is a very high acuity hospital. So I think Rebecca and I work very closely together to tailor the experience and give you what you need to be an entry-level RD, but also tailor it so that when you graduate, if you want to be a sports RD, then I would need to give you that experience so that you can apply for those jobs. So we try to tailor as much as possible. Distance students, I do the same. It may be more limited depending on where they are, but we have at this point 250 affiliation agreements across the nation with over 400 preceptors. And there are some cases, like if you're interested in sports, I could have you come to USC to do a rotation or two during summer. So we try to work with both on-campus and distance students. Rebecca, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll just also add that, we want to get as much input as possible. And sometimes your professors get to know you pretty well in your class too. So we will also connect with your professors and see if they have any suggestions or recommendations based on getting to know you from class.
Thank you both. We have another one. What would we say makes USC's coordinated programs stand out amongst other coordinated programs? Probably, Carrie, this one's for you.
Yeah, I tried to emphasize the focus on the biology and biochemistry of aging. I want to highlight that we truly are looking at Healthspan longevity. Not only Dr. Longo's course, but I teach nutrigenomics, and we spend some time looking at that. We look in Gero 518 at a lot of new and emerging topics. We're talking a lot this semester about the gut microbiome and how special medical conditions where that's important. But I think the slides that we shared with you about our graduation rates, about job placement, because we are a smaller program, we really do have the time, energy, and commitment to you to really make it a win-win. Jeannie shared with you John Liu. I'm just over the moon with John Liu. He got into UC Davis Medical School, and he worked for the Oakland Raiders. He worked recently, Jeannie, with what other football team as a consultant?
I think it was baseball team. He's done, consulted with many teams, yes.
But he's also worked for a government program as a dietitian up in the Bay Area. And the fact that he's kind of following his interest, we write a lot of letters of support. We're happy to do that also. So I think for many reasons we stand out, but I think our students, they are in a cohort, they feel part of that cohort. We set them up with a mentor from the cohort before them to kind of help them and be able to talk with them about things that they're going through in the program. So a lot of personalization.
Can I add one more thing to what you said, Dr. K? I would have to say there's only 2 coordinated programs in California. It's us and Loma Linda. And I'm close to the folks at Loma Linda because we share similar challenges. So we're not competing, different programs. But, we do have a distance and on-campus option, which is not common to all coordinated programs. And secondly, we do have our own hospitals, which is not there are coordinated programs, but they have to partner with hospitals. And lastly, we do have agreements with NFL teams. So that's kind of cool if you're interested in, trying something different. We have like 3 or 4 students doing rotations with an NFL team here in Los Angeles. So those are some of the unique qualities. And our age category, we have students from 20s to 60s. It's never too late to come back and do something that you're passionate about. We're living longer nowadays. So, I think overall, the experience, I would say, is very tailored to each individual.
Thanks.
Carrie and Jeannie, I think this will be probably a question for both of you. For students who are living fairly close to campus, within 100 miles, but we know LA traffic, a long commute. Can you talk a little bit about how strict we are with that radius for applying to the residential program specifically?
We have not been super strict. Really, the bottom line, it comes down to, can you get you into internship placement sites? And anything that's in and around LA is just tough. We have had students that have family in other states, and they have been willing to move for a short period of time in with their grandparents that live in Idaho, so that they can complete rotations there. That really is the limiting factor, is if you live in I don't know, let's say San Bernardino, and which is a pretty good distance. You know, can you find internship sites? So we really do it on a case-by-case basis, and we would discourage you, unless you are working at a hospital right now that has made a commitment to take you for internship. Although we had a student within the last couple of years that was what was set up, and then the hospital backed out. So we became just in a difficult spot. So I understand the driving and the challenges with that. The one thing I will say is that we have always, and for most of you will say yay, and others will say, oh boy, we have scheduled courses. Even when you've got 4 courses in a semester, you're coming to campus 2 days a week. That's it. 2, maybe 3. Other semesters, if we can get you to come to campus 1 day a week, we will do that. So we recognize travel and traffic. Yeah. Another question, Sarah?
Yes, another one along the same lines. For the distance coordinated program, how should students go about securing those local preceptors? Where do you suggest starting as far as calling to ensure they can do rotations?
I would start with me, because I do have sites all across the nation. So depending on where you're willing to travel to, I can give you the sites we already have an agreement with. We have a couple of preceptors where now with telemedicine, they're taking students virtually for outpatient or for specialty. So I can give you, I can share that contact with you, but I would start with me, and then I can also connect you to other students within that area, alums that have graduated that live in that area, and they can help you potentially secure additional sites. But feel free to speak to me even before you apply. Let me know where you live. Let me look at the sites, and I will be honest with you how difficult it will be or challenging it will be for you to secure clinical sites in the area that you're currently at.
The other really important advice is it's about relationships. And Emma, that Jeannie shared earlier as one of our graduates, her home is Houston, and she came to campus for the first year, but she was a campus student, but chose to go back to Houston for her second year. She really wanted to do clinical rotations at home just to establish those relationships. And she ended up getting hired at places where she had done her internships. So establishing relationships, getting involved in your local or state dietetics organization, going to conferences, going to events, and just talking with people, and offering to help out, offering to volunteer can go a long way. Next, Sarah.
A follow-up for that for Jeannie or Rebecca, for distance students, can you have the same preceptor overlap for different rotations?
Yes, please. That would be, you can potentially, if you have a hospital site, you can potentially do all your rotations, maybe except community, depending on what they have. But I think try to partner with few sites where you can do multiple rotations would be the easiest if you're distance.
Question for you, Carrie. If a student has more than 40 hours of supervised practice with different RDs, would we like to see all of that experience in the application?
I think it would be great to see that. You're painting a picture for us about what you're bringing to the program. So paint the picture. Let us know how you shine. I always say don't be embarrassed to brag about yourself. If you have some really great accomplishments, share that with us. Don't hold back. Let us know that you were number 1, or you were the only one picked, or whatever. Yeah.
And can you also talk a little bit about Zoom experience, virtual experience right now versus in person, and how flexible we are for those shadow hours?
Oh, for the shadow hours. We are really flexible. Remember back, the 40 hours is so that you don't get into our program and then you realize, I don't think I really want to be a dietitian. I really think I want to be an occupational therapist. So the hours are really to kind of open your view. And I would encourage you to pick something that you either observe or talk with someone that maybe is outside of what you don't know, just to see what's possible. It really is a two-way street. We want you to get that experience, but we also want you to be sure that this is really what you want. So if you have someone that's doing some type of presentation or groups or something that's Zoom, that's fine. I have no problem. If you have to do up to even half of your hours, you've joined a practice group. The Integrative Functional Nutrition Practice Group has phenomenal recorded videos, and you're watching about the gut microbiome, or you're watching about nutrigenomics. Tell me what you took away. What did you learn about what that dietitian does for their work after watching that? So.
And for students who are either already dietitians in another country or shadow in another country,
that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, we would accept that. Yeah.
Next question, a little bit of a unique situation maybe. What do you suggest for letters of recommendation for someone who is self-employed for the past about 7 years, so no manager or supervisor? Would you like to see professors, an employee? What would you like to see?
So if you're self-employed, I would assume that you're doing work for someone else, either a program or an agency. So maybe look there. Have you done any volunteer work? Like I have been involved with AYSO soccer. I'm on the board and I do everything. And boy, the commissioner for the AYSO region, I'm sure he would be happy to write a letter, and it probably would say a lot about me because he's known me for 5 years and he's seen me in action. So, but let us know that you're self-employed somewhere and that the letters you're including are from people that you've worked with or you've volunteered with. Yeah.
And besides the slide sharing some faculty that work in the program, where else can students look to see potential professors that would be working in the program or be potential advisors for that capstone project?
Boy, Jeannie mentioned that we have 400 dietitians that are on contract as preceptors. We do have students that work with a preceptor on a project. We have faculty, even in our building. If you go to gero.usc.edu and look at faculty, we have had students that have worked in the Longo labs with faculty in the Longo labs. We've had students that have worked with Dr. Benayoun. In fact, we had 2 graduates that have peer-reviewed publications that worked for their 2 years while in the program with Dr. Benayoun in her lab. If lab work on animal models is something that you're interested in, and if you think that you may go on to apply to a PhD, working in one of the labs would be great. Other faculty through USC, if you just pick whatever your key word is and USC and faculty, you can look at faculty across the university that are doing research. There's faculty in Keck School, a woman, Catherine Page, who just published a big paper on sucralose and weight gain in people that are overweight and obese, and how the artificial sugars seem to influence the desire to eat and contribute quite likely to weight gain. So a lot of faculty at USC, again, depending on what your area of interest is.
And I can partially answer this question. A student asked, for international students, since they're required to do the in-person program, is there an option to do hybrid or distance? The issue is you're on a student visa, so you will need to be on campus here in Los Angeles.
And I would encourage you, if you're an international student and you don't need to pass the RDN exam, but the master's degree in nutrition and dietetics will enable you to get gainful employment in your home country. Take a look at our newer program. It really does mirror our coordinated program with much fewer units, 38 units versus 44, fewer internship hours. We do have some internship hours built in, and it really was meant to do that, to give you all that you would need to return to your home country if that is your goal, with a degree that will help you to get a job.
And then can I just add about the capstone project that Rebecca is currently working on a website, right, page with the list of all the capstone projects for the previous cohort. So you can see that soon. And also Dr. K and all of us are here to support you in that capstone project journey. So you're not left alone. So I don't want you to think like it's a full-on thesis that you're kind of left alone. We're here to support you.
And I think this may be our final question. For students that are going to be doing the program in person, do they need to secure any preceptors prior to starting?
No, it's all taken care of for you, unless you have a preceptor you really want to work with. And you don't have to worry about the agreement. I take care of that. Your job is to just connect with the preceptor that you would like to work with.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us today. Please reach out if we can answer any additional questions. There is, and I believe Sarah gave you a link, we have an 8-page summary of the program, the courses, the internship rotations, as well as the competencies that Ascend has given us, and that is available through our website. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.